Kia ora, and greetings from New Zealand, Aotearoa. And the first thing I would like to do is, I felt very welcome in my time here in Singapore, and I'd invite you all to come and visit my beautiful country. And when you do, I would just like to give you, in my presentation today, some things to be aware of and the etiquette involved when you encounter those things. Now, about our roads. We've got two major islands, about 1,600 kilometres long, 11,000 kilometres of state highway, and over 100,000 kilometres of roads. 30% of those will be unsealed. We've got 5.1 million people, so a very small population, but look at how many vehicles we have. We have 87 vehicles per 100 people. But 20% of those people are under the age of 14, so we actually have more vehicles than adults. So we love our driving. We also, you'll encounter on particular parts, we love our motorcycles as well. Big motorcycles, high-powered ones, and we use them on our open roads. And we've got a lot of trucks and buses. 93% of our freight is moved internally by trucks. So you will encounter these, and I'll tell you about them further on. Now, around the major cities, you'll be familiar with these type of traffics. This is a well-designed road with a medium barrier. It's got runoff protection all the way through it. It's a left-hand drive. You will be very familiar with this and feel confident. It's a posted speed of 110 kilometres per hour because it's an expressway and it's explicitly built to the most modern of standards. However, our roads change quickly. In my country, you can be skiing on snow in the afternoon and surfing on the beach later in the same day. So you can go from one to the other. It's not uncommon for our temperatures to change 20 degrees, 25 degrees in one day. So it's something that you need to be aware of. We've got very up-to-date weather things and monitoring, but I point out again on these ones, the road, although it's got a barrier around the side for runoff, has no medium strips on the left. Now, the further you get out into our rural roads is the more you see the difference between the highways, and these will be some of the challenges that you need to be aware of. We put helpful marking signs on our road. We expect about 5 million tourists to visit our country next year, and 40% of them will come from drivers who have driven on the other side of the road. So you'll see there's a little runoff there. It's a beautiful little spot where you can see a lovely lake and stop. We put the arrows to remind people which lane to go onto. And I know that you're familiar with driving on the left-hand side, but it's just been aware that there are other drivers on the road who are not as familiar as what you are. You'll encounter things like one-way bridges, and you see the little sign there that'll indicate who gives way to whom. And many of our roads will be unmarked at all. And what we're encountering now is adventurous tourist drivers who like getting off the beaten track and going into these rural roads and seeing the real New Zealand, you know, those small towns and those other parts. So you will encounter roads like that. We also, as you're well aware, are a farming, horticultural, agricultural country. We produce 40 times more food than what we eat. So we export it around the world. So you are going to encounter large tankers like that, which are milk tankers. They stop at the farms and they pick up the milk. Now, when approaching those, this is what to be aware of. Often they'll have on the back, do not overtake a turning vehicle. And why do they have that? Because the gates are narrow and they're on the left. So the truck has to veer out to the right, cross the road to be able to get in there with its trailer. So the last thing you want to do is get up behind it too close and have that truck move out in front of your roading conditions. So for those people who have never encountered those kind of trucks and large vehicles, that's something to be aware of. Also, I note that we've got logging trucks, and that back one there it's carting sheep or some form of stock. And there's a little runoff zone there. Our truck drivers are actually quite courteous. They will pull over for a line of traffic and let them go past to go. But just something to be remembered, because of gravity, it's much harder for a truck to start again going up the hill than going down the hill. So often you're wondering if you're getting close to the top of the hill why the truck hasn't pulled over. He's just waiting to get over the brow of the hill and an opportunity to pull in and let you go past. Now, I know in some places tooting the horn can be aggressive, but in New Zealand, we give that little toot-toot, which is a thank you, a little acknowledgement that you've pulled over, you've seen us, and everybody can go along. And that's quite acceptable. In fact, you often get a bit of a toot back or something as a nod, just an appreciation of the fact that you've been courteous and allowed other people to go past. You're probably not going to get this in Singapore, but it's not that uncommon in New Zealand, and particularly around some of the more rural areas if you're adventurous. Now, what happened is this is just a flock of sheep being driven by a shepherd. Often they may have a quad bike and there'll be dogs running around, barking and yapping, and all the sheep will be moving. If you're approaching it, the sheep are approaching you, just stop your vehicle. They'll come around you. It's quite a neat experience, and they'll all walk around and nothing will happen. If you're approaching them from behind, slow down to a walking pace, about 5 kilometres per hour, and just slowly go through it. Don't use the horn. Don't scare the animals. It's kind of an experience that's kind of neat. But you're also going to run into things like cattle being driven occasionally. There'll be some horses. Maybe the shepherd's on a horse. No, not a motorised form of transport. He's using the horse. And so what you don't want to do is spook the stock, make them scared, make them run out, become a hazard for other vehicles. Also, we have something rather special down there that we love dearly, and that's our kiwi bird. And you'll never see another sign like that anywhere else in the world. It's unique to us. And although not as dangerous as an elephant, as we saw the other examples earlier on, we kind of love these cute little things and we don't want you to run them over. So just be aware that when you see these signs, mainly they're nocturnal, they come out at night. And if you do get to see one, it's a really special thing to see. And so we will post these signs up in those areas that have them wild, just to let you know that they're there and just to take that little bit of extra caution so you don't cause any harm. Now, we love our tourists and we prepare for it and we do a lot of work around it. For the last, I'll look at my little notes here. Okay, for the last 10 years, our tourist companies, our rental companies and our government and police have been working together to provide a whole lot of information for overseas drivers. Now, they have travel bookings and we have information in about 11 languages that you can have access to. We have videos of driving in New Zealand that you can look at. We also have, if you hop into a car, you'll find that on your steering wheel, which is a little kind of reminder about keeping left and in different languages. As earlier said about other examples around travelling, New Zealand is about 11 hours from here. It's a 5-hour time distance, and our roads take a lot more to travel on. Don't expect to hop in the plane, land in New Zealand, and then get in a rental car and hope to drive 3 or 4 hours. It's not the thing to do. So I've got a series of links on this video. As was earlier asked, if anybody's got questions or anything, they can request to have that, and it'll show you where the links will be on my presentation, and you'll be able to see the links to all those videos. We have a free online road rules test. So if you want to go, what do I need to know that's a little bit different from our driving? Most of it is the same, to be honest. But there are a few minor changes that you need to be aware of. But if you're experienced driving here, you'll be fairly comfortable driving in New Zealand, except for those kind of unique features of lots of trucks, mountains, and our road conditions. When I talk about those unsealed roads, they've got what we call gravel, which is a stone chip. So you've got to be aware about how you drive it. As I said earlier about the 20 degrees, I looked at our metrology service yesterday, and one of our areas it was -1 overnight. So as our Japanese colleague had shown in those driving conditions, this is where a little bit of thinking and planning comes in. Instead of getting up early and rushing off to that wonderful site I wanted to see, let's just wait an hour so the ice disappears. And then we can drive there safely. I've never driven on ice before if you haven't. And so all of a sudden you just manage that issue. So there's little tips you can do. We've got a drive safe video. It tells you all about what to do, plenty of times to reach your destination, understanding our rules and signs. And this is a great little one on YouTube. The 7 things that you wish you'd known before you visited. Well, now you can find out about them before you've come and take away some of those surprises. It gives you tips about what the driving is, some of the great sights you'll see. I mean, we Avis Island, that has everything. We've got volcanoes and we've got great lakes and we've got forests and animals and birds, and it's just a great place to come and visit. So this will show you some of the neat sights to see, some of the tips about driving and what to do. Now here's some of the top tips that I'd like to say. Obviously, don't fly after the long trip. I've said that one already. It can be slower than what you expect, so just allow that bit more time. And as mentioned earlier, we will allow time for a stop. We make great coffee, good food, enjoy it, take your time and get there. Don't drive when you're tired, regular breaks. Everybody knows this rule, don't drink and drive, so I'll move on from that. And wearing of seatbelts is compulsory. What our AA does have, though, is a journey calculator. So if you're making a trip anywhere, you can put in your location, where you want to go. It'll tell you how to get there, how long it's going to take you to get there. It may even indicate where some places are appropriate to have a stop with. So you can actually plan safely about your trips. You can do it before you go. When you're doing your itinerary and you want to work out what I'm going to do in a day, you can sit down with a little calculator and go, well, today we might go to here and we'd love to see that over there, and just actually work out what you'd want to do so that you're not rushed. You have the time to experience our country, and most of all, you're safe. Now, we have fabulous scenery, and often you can see almost people going, wow, that's neat. If you want to enjoy it, stop. We allow lots of little places where you can pull in, have a look at the scenery, get out, take your photos, enjoy those moments. There are so much good things to look at that it actually can be quite a distraction. You'll always be encountering something you've probably not seen before or is quite awe-inspiring. Live life, just stop, smell the flowers, enjoy that little moment instead of being distracted as you drive, because that is one of the most dangerous things around, is that distraction, and we offer plenty of distractions. Now, hold-ups aren't that uncommon. You'll see that agricultural vehicle there. That driver will be looking around and he will be looking for places to pull over, to let you go past, or do you whatever. Generally, like most countries, we have very respectful drivers and we have some that are not. But in the whole, people who are driving these heavy machineries, these trucks, are professional drivers who know the rules, who are courteous, they'll know you're there, and at the first opportunity, they'll let you go past. So you don't need to rush and think, I need to get past this vehicle, I need to do whatever, because they'll know the roads a lot better than you, and generally they're more than happy to let you go on your journey and experience the country. And so if you do encounter those on farm trucks, etc., don't sweat it. They'll find a place to pull over for you. Now, we drive on the left-hand side of the road. You'll be familiar with that. Our distances are in kilometres, not miles. Most of our highways are around 100 kilometres per hour. Our expressways are 110. We do have many slower roads. The earlier chart showing the collision with the vehicles falling off the buildings is why we have some 80 kilometre an hour roads that don't have medium strips or other ones. It's all around that safety of it. And again, that familiar thing, red light, we don't have the free left-hand turn that you do in some countries. Yellow, stop if you can. Green, we all know what that one is. We also have a lot of little signs like slow down, high crash areas. And you will see signs with motorcycle high crash area, and a lot of little tips that just go, I should take that additional bit of care right now, because the road conditions, I saw how many before, over 100,000 kilometres of road and only 5 million people to afford to pay for them. So some of the roads aren't that great. So our only option is to put signs and let you know when those roads aren't in the best of conditions. Whenever possible, we recommend using the passing lanes. And again, keep left and left passing. We all kind of know that rule. We call it the zip, and it's a courteous way of doing it. One car after the other car when you get to the end of the passing lane. Sometimes you get people who don't want to do it. It's a simple rule, but if you do that, there's no drama. There's none of this road rage or anything happens. Everybody's pleased with you because you're just following and being courteous. We're starting to put more and more roundabouts on. So generally, as you're approaching the roundabout, you're looking at the right-hand side where the vehicle's approaching from. We go clockwise around it, and if we're not turning off on the very first one, we indicate to the right that we're going around. It lets other traffic know, and then we indicate to the left when we're pulling out. What does that do? It lets the other vehicles waiting on the roundabout know that you're going to turn off, and so they can enter the roundabout safely. Always carry, it's by law you have to carry your driver's licence, and if stopped by a police officer, produce it. We do have something called random stops, and we basically do it for alcohol stops, nothing else. Unless you're speeding or driving erratically or doing something against the law, you'll not be stopped by the police. But they have a rule called anytime, anywhere for booze buses. And so they'll be well marked, they'll be stopped, and they'll just check you for alcohol. And then if you haven't been drinking, they'll send you on the way. It's not you all would have been something familiar here as well. Thank you. We've got time probably for questions later, but not right now with part of the panel. As I started, please come and visit our country. Enjoy it. We want you to drive safely, come back and tell your family what a wonderful experience you've had.